Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60. It's 11 o'clock at night, and we're trying to fix a BMW. So we've had a bit of an interesting night. It is the day before the E39 M5 is supposed to go for roadworthy. So obviously we're trying to make everything right before it gets down there. And this afternoon, well today, all we had to do today was install the front door cards, the door mirrors, and the rear inner guard liner. Sorry, forgot what it was called. It's been a long night. I need some food. However, fast forward 5 hours and we've got the intake plenum off. Yeah, we found a bit of a weird problem. So luckily, Dave is getting HCE tuning to tune this car, and he's been pretty excited about it. He watches the channel, and I guess he's looking forward to working his magic on it. But today he wanted to have a quick look at Testo and make sure the logging software was working properly on the ESS tune so that we can get a base map for him. Now he logged on and he noticed two issues straight away. Two issues that we weren't aware of. They weren't throwing fault codes. Actually, I'll say two issues we weren't aware of when we were. But yeah, long story short, when he was logged in, which heard David, he's outside getting wire from his parts car. Yeah, when he logged in, he noticed that one of the O2 sensors was reading funny. It was reading, how is rich or lean? And we've made comments about this car nearly every time we've driven it. It always smells super, super fuely. Anyway, he picked up that one of the O2 sensors was faulty. This was after trading hours that we realised this. Luckily, I still had one of my old N54 sensors. It's got the same plug. We plugged it in and it now seems to work like Bank 1 does. So Bank 1 and 2 now get similar readings on the O2s. So I think we fixed that problem. The other issue that really concerned HTE was the intake air temp sensor. Now, the intake air temps, David actually picked up that it was having a funny intake air temp reading when he did the Testo video, which is about 2 or 3 months ago now. He noticed that it was pegged at 60 degrees Celsius. Now, to me, that just sounds like a dodgy sensor, something weird going on with the sensor, and it's its max value. However, when HTE did the logging today through Testo, he noticed that it was at minus 48 degrees C. Now, the issue with that is if the DME thinks it's really cold, it will run, or possibly will run more aggressive timing because it thinks it's getting nice, cold, healthy air, which it wasn't getting because it was about 30 degrees today. So we opened a can of worms. That's what we did. So the intake air temp sensor sits in the bottom of the charge pipe, which is still connected, in that little hole right there. No biggie. It hangs off just here. That's the plug for it. I don't even know where I've put the sensor. I've put it somewhere. I'll show you guys in a second. But yeah, the sensor comes out the bottom, so we could start playing with it, checking wiring. I ended up hooking a multimeter up to it. I think I must have put it... Where's the multimeter? Hooked a multimeter up to it anyway, and the sensor seemed to be working properly. So we were getting a reading of about 3,000 ohms in ambient temperature. Went and put it in the freezer, and that went out to 8,000 ohms, or whatever it was. Anyway, changing the temperature of the sensor was getting us a different resistance reading with the multimeter. So I got the feeling that the sensor's actually working properly. So then I started having a look at these wires, trying to work out what's going on. David's got Testo going at that point, and while I'm having a wiggle, it just went zzz, and a load of sparks come out. I couldn't actually see these wires. They were just folded up. I've started a video, which we weren't going to do.
That was about as long as I could get in the dark.
Yeah, well, that'll be more than enough. Actually, I'll just explain what's going on. So anyway, Dave's in there, he's got Testo running, and then he's noticed that it's now reading, it was 60 degrees when you did it, but it was 48 when Hass was doing it.
Yeah.
So we're getting different readings through Testo on the intake air temp sensor, so something weird's going on.
And they're both different, but they're both very wrong as well.
Yeah, almost like max hot, max cool.
Cold, yeah.
Anyway, so that got us thinking, there must be something wiring going on, and while I'm wiggling around this, the charge pipe's still at that point, it went spark, 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 and I shat myself. I actually shouted at Dave saying, fuck, we got a problem, we got a problem.
And I could hear it shorting, so I just thought, and the way you don't normally panic like that, so I thought, shit, it's on fire. So I ran straight to the boot to start pulling the battery out.
I thought it was going to go on fire. Anyway, and then I realised that these wires are tucked up here, so they must have been maybe touching the Vanos tube or something. They were shorting out. So I think it was probably another hour and a half it took us to work out what the hell was going on with this intake air temp sensor. So we traced the wires back. We didn't install this supercharger kit, but we're going through the supercharger instructions, trying to work out how you wire these intake air temp sensors in, what could possibly be going wrong, because the standard standard non-supercharged vehicles, they have 2 airflow meters or MAF sensors, one on this side and one on that side. And
the air intake sensor is in the one on the left-hand side of the engine bay.
over here, the passenger side in Australia, but the driver's side in America. And I think that's what's caused the problem.
Yeah.
So we started looking up wiring harnesses and wiring diagrams on these, and David found that when you tap into this temperature sensor, you're supposed to basically tap into a yellow and blue and a brown wire. And I sort of looked down and go, oh, I can see a brown, but I couldn't really tell what colour this yellow one was. And I said, look, I don't think it's got any other markings on it, it's just yellow. So then, much more delving, we ended up finding the full pin out for the MAF plug, and they're supposed to have 5 wires. And
Yeah.
this has only got 4, so what's going on? Is it missing? Is it missing? We ended up working out that, we ended up thinking that when you do the MAF relocation thing, maybe that's happened and these wires have been messed with. So we then started researching MAF relocation kits, because this car come with this document, which is an intake air temp sensor relocation kit, which you use on NA S62s. You don't use it on the supercharged ones. So that got us thinking, and we ended up watching someone do one of those kit installs, and they tap into this side, and then the MAF on this side has the temp sensor and 5 wires. So then we're trying to find the wiring,
And it's
what's
not
going
there.
on, where's the wiring, and we ended up poking a camera up and, down and under the plenum, and just sticking out the bottom of this conduit, you could just see there was some wiring in there, and obviously it's been snipped off. Yeah, that runs down to there.
Yeah, it's completely hidden.
But just, it's pretty bad. It's literally just been cut, just like these wires. They've not been taped up, and that was actually shorting out. So I reckon these could have been shorting out as well, and that's what's given us the funny sensor with the
Readings.
plus 60 or minus 48. So sometimes the car thinks it's really hot, and sometimes it thinks it's really cold. But what we did find in this one is a blue and yellow wire, which is the temp wire.
Yeah, so it's those 2 there that you hook the air temperature sensor to, not that one and that one, which is what's been done on the other side, because the other side doesn't have that 5th wire for the air temp sensor. Did you give some, did you say that how you were testing the air temperature sensor as well, and put it in the freezer and got a different reading, so that eliminated the sensor?
It's taken so long.
And did you also say that the car was, before all this started, it was about ready to go for the roadworthy?
I did. All we had to do was put the door cards on and the inner guard.
Yeah.
Nothing ever goes to plan when you're playing with cars. But what really worries me about this, so I think this was supercharged 3 years ago.
Something like that, yeah.
It's never had an intake air temp sensor.
No, so the engine has never been reading the air temperature correctly, which means it's probably been pulling time in like a mother, been running
rich as hell,
And
which is
remember this
why
thing,
it always smells.
Yep.
Well, it did have a faulty O2, which could also impact that.
Well, I don't think, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that O2 has only recently died, and maybe the O2's died because it's so bloody rich from always pumping so much fuel through it, maybe.
Did I leave it out? It might be under the car. No, I didn't. Here it is. So that's what come out of the car, and that is the blackest O2 sensor I've ever seen. And yeah, I think I mentioned it in the intro, but every time we've driven this car, we always think it smells really fuely. So maybe this is the problem.
Yeah, and like you said, when you were following me, it was literally pumping out black plumes of black smoke.
Anyway, look, it's taken a lot of work to get where we are, but we've got the wiring. You've got some new. Now I had some aftermarket wiring, but I wanted to use genuine stuff because I think it will handle the heat a bit better. We've got some fresh conduit. The plan is we will tap into these wires and we'll route this through the conduit and then up into the original conduit in here. Let's just do it. This has probably been a freaking 8-minute intro. Sorry guys, it's late and we're going very slowly. All right, let's try and get this finished before 1 AM.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Oh, and just so everyone knows, taking the inlet plenum off of a supercharged S62 takes longer than you think it will when you've never done it before.
Yeah, that was just, yeah. And whilst we're here, I may as well show you guys what I was doing at the start of this before it all happened. One of the sort of the final touches that I wanted to get done before it went to the roadworthy early tomorrow morning was straighten the right-hand rear tailpipe, because, so this is it off of the car. As you can see, there's just these 2 kinks here, and this last kink was sort of, like flanged out. You could see it had been squashed a little bit. So I thought it'd be nice and easy. I'll just pull it off from the car there where you can see, and I'll put some heat into it, try and wedge it somewhere, and just straighten it, which is basically what I did. It's definitely not BMW approved, but I actually had nothing to wedge it on, so I actually just put it in the hoist there, and then could just, yeah, just slowly sort of levered it up, and until that section there was less squished and it feels more like the rest of the pipe. So I'm hoping now that I'll slide it in, and hopefully it's in the right spot. So wish me luck. Let's have a look. Okay, it'll be about there. Cool. Well, it's on, and it's not 100% perfect, but that is a lot better. And I don't actually think, if you weren't actually looking for it, I don't think you'll notice that it is slightly off. And regardless, that's not a permanent, yeah, there's not staying. I just wanted that to straighten the pipe because it's a lot better than the bent one, but I do need to get it done once a local exhaust shop is able to fit me in, because they're all booked out at the moment. Another job done.
All right, so while Dave's doing the exhaust, I thought I'd just start cracking on with this. Got the wire fed in to the connection point in that box, so I'll be able to join the wires there, make that all look pretty. While I was doing that, I noticed some issues with some vacuum lines. So I'm not even sure what this little stepper motor does there, but it might be something to do with idle control, I don't know. But this was the vacuum line on it. I mean, it might have still been worked, but it looks pretty badly kinked. It goes under a rubber hose, so we replaced that one with some blue from my N54, and then I noticed the one that goes from the, it tees in here and goes to the boost gauge. Actually went that way. Again, just really badly oil affected, and it was actually also crushed and kinked in that section. So we've done some vacuum line upgrades, and I think that's the best thing I can say about this car. You start to do one little job and then you find 10 other ones to do to fix up along the way. Anyway, I'm going to time lapse putting this wiring in, and I'll speak to you guys hopefully in about 10 minutes. Okay, so I've soldered it in. Dave's just turned the car on, which might be why the throttle body's just flickered up, and he's going to fire up Testo and see if he gets a reading. Is that connected yet?
Yeah, I'm in there. Exhaust intake temp is 29 degrees, and coolant temp is 28. So bang, they're pretty close. Whereas before, obviously the intake was
miles off. Is it going up?
Yep, 31.
It's checking my temperature.
Huh.
There we go, you've got intake temps. All right, we've just got to put this mess back together. Okay, so I just thought I'd try and break this time lapse up a bit because it's quite a big job, but we've got the base, or the bottom section of the plenum on. It's held on with those 33 10mm bolts. We've still got to put all the trumpets in. They're held on with 8mm nuts. But something I thought some of you might find interesting. So obviously these engines were never designed to have boost, and because of the way the PCV system works in the plenum, ESS had to come up with a system to stop the boost getting into the PCV system. So what they've actually done, these, I think they're called swirl pots, they actually just poke through rubber grommets into the plenum. Now, obviously, if it's just under vacuum, that's never going to be a problem, but under boost, it'd pop them straight out. So what ECS have done, they supply these, I don't know, screw-in fittings, which are nice and tight, and I'm going to have to maybe take a bit more care, but basically they screw in, and they lock those swirl pots, that one works a bit better, they lock the swirl pots into the plenum. And then you run hoses to them both, and that separates the PCV system from the boost, and it just goes to an external catch can. Anyway, I'll keep installing. So that's the PCV system reconnected back up, and I've just tried to clean out anything in the plenum. It all looks pretty clean. So it's one of the cleaner E39 plenums that I've seen online. So what's next is the trumpets. Now these bad boys are really good if it was an NA car, but it's not. But they go like that, and they just have nuts that hold them in, so I'll get on with that. Well, that is it all back together, and I'd love to start it up right now, but it is 10 to 1 in the morning, and I don't think the neighbours will appreciate this roaring V8. Dave, it's nearly all done. We've still got to put the right front wheels on, which we've got out. We've got some temporary door mirrors on while the M5 ones are getting painted. They look expensive. And other than that, we have to... That's it.
Got to put door cards on because I can't actually get to the front clips while it's on the hoist. So still have to do that. And haven't put the front splash guards on under the front quarters, whatever they call them, the pig panels or whatever.
All right, well, let's get that done. We're going to sign this video off here because it's probably quite a long one. Guys, thank you very much for watching.
What a day.
And comment below if you think it gets its roadworthy in the morning or if it's going to get declined on something. We'll see, we'll see. All right, thanks again.
Peace.